days that the Steelers own the Ravens, those are done. I think this is going to be the biggest blowout of the week.
Here, man.
I hope so.
Come on.
This is the biggest blowout of the week. The Steelers are not going to hang with the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to roll over them.
I'm fine with that. And it looks as if Zay Flowers, you and I were talking about in the whip, Joel, that Zay Flowers is not going to suit up for this game.
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal for them. He's been amazing for them Pro Bowl this season. He's been excellent. That being said, I'm interested in this game because, of course, like you mentioned, Steelers have had Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens number, but the Steelers are coming into this game the coldest that you could possibly be. It's the Texans, like they're pretty cold, but then there's the Pittsburgh Steelers who they really can't get anything going offensively. Russ has really struggled over these last few weeks. Defensively, it seems as if they've lost their edge, particularly in the passing defense. It's really been a rough go about for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That being said, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. This is Lamar Jackson's redemption tour to solidifying himself, like he already is, as an all-time great. He just needs that postseason success to really get over that hump, like my GOAT, Peyton Manning, did. Shout out. I understand the struggle, Lamar Jackson fans. My guy struggled in the beginning, but inevitably he figured it out. This is the year for Lamar Jackson offensively for him to get it going. I say offensive because, yeah, the defense has been cooking. But if you go out there, Lamar, and you at least do your part, similarly how Josh Allen has done his part, and he really doesn't get any fault at all for them not having any Super Bowl success or real strong playoff success, because in the big moment, you know you can trust Josh. We haven't really had that on a consistent basis for Lamar Jackson, but I think this is a different version of Lamar. I've been saying it repeatedly. This is the best version of him I've seen, how efficient he's been as a passer. You understand that he's still the best rushing quarterback in football, but his accuracy is so refined this season. His decision-making has been near flawless this year. I'm going to go with Baltimore. I'm expecting a clean game on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, you mentioned it. This is probably the best Lamar we've seen. And it's been a while since we've seen Lamar in the playoffs. You know, his team's been in it and he's been hurt. So we kind of have a gap of when the last time we've seen Lamar as opposed to now. Last time we saw Snoop Huntley in the playoffs.
He played last year.
Who?
Lamar.
Oh, I'm sorry. He did.
I understand.
I'm saying
I got you. I know what you mean.
But I say that to say this. I agree with you to some degree. I think Baltimore destroys Pittsburgh.
You said Steelers going to win a playoff game this year.
Oh yeah, but not against Baltimore. Yeah, if they played Texans, could have talked. But I think Baltimore destroys the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the curse is over by any means. The Pittsburgh can still win some games next year in the regular season. I think that's something crazy. But just right now, playoff moment. I just think right now the way Pittsburgh is coming into the playoffs. I mean, you've lost 4 of your last 5, or I think 4 straight, or something like that. You know, if you lost games to the Bengals, you've lost games to the Eagles, you've lost to Baltimore, and your offense just hasn't been able to get it going. You know, I'm blanking off the last. It was the Bengals game.
We lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, yes, it was 4 in a row. So the Bengals game was the game that really sticks out to me because I'm watching that game, and the Pittsburgh offense is just. It feels like the Texans offense. You know, you're trying to establish your run game, but nothing really was going. And in that key moment, you had Warren in when you should have had Najee in. And I felt like he was the one. Yeah. At times you needed Warren in, but you had Najee in. George Pickens couldn't catch to save his life at times. You know, you really only have one option out, like that is George Pickens. Russ can't really do much. You know, I think Pittsburgh is just on the free fall. You can only do so much with limited talent. Like it can only get you so far. We talk about it in the NBA. Like limited talent, but playing hard can get you to the playoffs. But once you get to the playoffs, that's when your talent kind of fizzles out and you understand who's really the top dogs. And I think that's the same thing for Pittsburgh in the sense of limited talent only got them so far. It got them a real cushion to where they can make the playoffs. I think right now you're going up against a different type of Lamar, and even though they might not have Zay Flowers or they don't have Zay Flowers, I do think we are preparing ourselves for a Baltimore ass whipping. I don't think this changes any narrative for Lamar because I do think this is a snooze-by game. Same thing for Herbert. I think the Texans and the Steelers are kind of those teams we kind of look at as like not bye weeks, but like teams that are free-falling, teams that probably shouldn't be here, but they are. You know, but I do think Baltimore wins this game pretty handily.
I think that it would mean something for Lamar Jackson and how people see him. You still have to respect the Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
Not right now.
I get where you're coming from.
They've been pretty terrible recently.
Not going to disagree at all, but understanding the history between Lamar and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know Lamar Jackson went out there and he torched them the last time they faced. But again, it's playoff time. It's a different type of beast. And the Steelers in the playoffs, to be fair, aren't anything to write home about. But this defense is one that you do have to respect. And for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, this is a game that you can really start to get your confidence to a different level. We can come out here, we set a tone, we go out here and we blow out the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that has had our number for years and years and years. It marks a new turning of a page.
It's a stepping stone for the Ravens. I think schematically, the Steelers just don't match up with the Ravens. I don't think they have any juice offensively. I really struggle to even picture them putting together 2 scoring drives in this game. That's how inept their offense has looked. George Pickens looks disinjected from what's going on, and he started to drop passes. They're 28th in rush success rate, and the Ravens all season long have been one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Russell Wilson is still a limited quarterback, and you're forcing him to drop back against a good defensive line. And he targets inside the numbers at the second highest rate in the NFL. No, sorry. He at the second lowest rate in the NFL.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson doesn't throw to the middle of the field, and it limits just what you can call offensively. He targets outside the field, outside the numbers, and the Ravens defense since week 11, they've been the best pass defense in the NFL. They've made some changes. They've made a variety of them. You talk about Darius Washington starting and Kyle Hamilton playing more safety snaps, and then Kyle Van Noy getting more integrated into the defensive line and rushing the passer more. They just feel more complete right now, and the Steelers just everything's falling apart. The offense we know is bad, but the defense is falling off as well, and it's because they play a prevent-style defense. They aren't aggressive at the line. Their corners are playing off coverage, and it really allows you to really dink and dunk your way down the field, and those openings are going to be open against the Steelers. So I just think, like, whatever the spread is on this game, I'm taking the Ravens.
Something like that.
Only thing that stuck in my head when I think about the last time these two matched up, I think Russell had 2 plays that ended up resulting with Baltimore being able to come away with the win. But outside of those 2 plays, I thought Russ played a pretty good game. You had the play where he fumbles at the 1-yard line, where I thought that was a nice play by him, nice playmaking, just tried to do too much, fumbles the ball. And then at the very end, you need to throw the ball a little bit more outside, leaves it in, interception. That obviously ended up being the game right there. But that last game was Russ and the Pittsburgh Steelers playing probably the last time that I can remember this year of pretty high-level offense. And that was against the Baltimore Ravens. That's where I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. I think that we'll see the Baltimore Ravens win this game, but a blowout seems strong.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of the Ravens defense because on one side, you do have like a 5-week sample size, 6-week sample size of them being really good, right? You have a first-time DC and Zach Orr. You had some moving pieces. Of course, you lost your defensive coordinator. That's how you get a new one. So there was a lot of moving pieces to enter this season. And when you see that, we even saw with Mike McDonald, to start off his career, that it doesn't, week 1, you're just this elite defense. It does usually take time. So I do think of that on one hand. Now, on the other hand, I just look at the competition that they've had. They have not gone up against a good offense since Cincinnati, that being the Baltimore Ravens back on Thursday Night Football, which feels like 2 months ago at this point. So they really haven't played an offense to test them. Same breath, I don't think the Steelers offense can really test them, right? This is not the Bills, who they could potentially play next week, the Chiefs down the line, or the Lions, or whoever else they might face if they get that far. So I'm not too worried about this game for Baltimore because we saw a couple weeks ago, they put up 34 points against Pittsburgh. They allowed them to 17. And right now, Pittsburgh on both sides of the ball just feels pretty lost, right? They haven't scored more than 20 points in the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've allowed 27 or more 4 out of the last 5, except this week 18 game against Cincy, which was 19-17. So both sides of the ball have kind of fallen off. Now, on the opposite end, while the Ravens have played some really bad competition, the Steelers played great competition, right? To start off the year, they had a bit of an easier schedule, right? They were first place. We were talking about them winning the division, potentially winning a playoff game. But over these last month, 5 weeks, they've played KC, they've played the Eagles, they've played Cincy, they've played some of the top teams in the league. So you do have both sides where you got one team that's dominating, who we all think is better in the Baltimore Ravens, and they're played bad competition, so they're going to look great. And we have an inferior team in the Steelers who have played some great competition, so we think they're even worse. With that being said, I still think Baltimore wins this game. Not having Zay Flowers matters, though, right? Not having Zay Flowers, and now it's Rashad Bateman as your 1, Tylan Wallace as your 2. Of course, you have the 2 tight ends and Derrick Henry in the backfield, but it makes things a bit more difficult because we do know that this wide receiver core is not one of the strong suits, although they are one of the tops in terms of separation score and things like that. I don't think Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace, and who's their third stringer? I
Is
don't
it
know.
Aguilar still?
Aguilar, exactly. That's probably the weakest wide receiver unit in football in terms of playoff teams remaining right now. So it's not a strong suit, and losing Zay is going to hurt it even more. But thankfully, what they have this year, what they don't have last year, is Derrick Henry, which I'm hoping that Todd Monken learned his lesson and saying, you know what? When things aren't going great or we have a bad drive here or there, why don't we give Derrick Henry the ball 3 times in a row and see what happens? At worst, it'll probably be 4th and 1, and then we could use our MVP quarterback, get him out in some space. But Derrick Henry changes a lot for me. It just raises their floor so much. It raises their ceiling so much. So I am looking forward to maybe a game down the line against Riv's Buffalo Bills. Don't want to look ahead too much, but I do think Baltimore should take care of business here.
Shotty B. He's here.
No, he's good. He's definitely good.
But also, Mark Andrews been getting more involved and being consistent in the offense, too. Losing Zay sucks, no doubt. But I think this is Rashad Bateman at his best. Lamar Jackson at his best. Mark Andrews not necessarily at his best, but still a productive Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry in the backfield. The offense should be fine.
Should not lose.
Do you guys have score predictions or no?
Let's go 31-17.
That's actually exactly what I had, I'll be honest.
Say word.
Yeah,
Oh,
for the Steelers,
shit.
Ravens, yeah.
I was say 31-20.
Okay. Damn, what'd you have for Chargers Texans?
21-16.
I would have said like 21-16. Yeah, okay. We're on the same page.
24-17. Give me the Ravens.